these developments and many others, the A-Team, former Special Assistant to President George W. Bush, Ron Christie, family law attorney David Mejias, and Government Affairs Manager with Americans for Tax Reform, Mattie Duppler. Good to have you all with us. I want to start, if I may, with you, Ron. These are chilling numbers, deeply disturbing numbers, and it seems there is no response from either government and, frankly, the national media.
Well, I think, good evening, Lou. I think what this shows is that America are really hurting right now. People are very despondent about their future. They're very despondent about their ability to find a job, keep their home. Service members are under an enormous amount of stress, and the sacrifice they put forth for the country, and perhaps it's when they come home, they just feel hopeless. These statistics I find very disheartening and very disturbing, and something that we really need to shed more of a light on, so I'm glad you're doing it.
David?
Well, this is nothing new. In 2009, there were more suicides than actual troops killed in combat. One of the things we're not discussing is how traumatic brain injuries are misdiagnosed as post-traumatic stress disorder. So the military is not doing a good enough job of identifying the traumatic brain injuries that are occurring for troops that occur near explosions, which then turn into suicidal ideation and other thoughts of suicide. We've seen it with athletes, pro athletes in the NFL as well. So we need to do a better job in combat, on the ground, with our troops, diagnosing them appropriately.
Part of it is diagnosis, as you suggest. It is also a question why this government, this administration, these leaders in the Pentagon are not responding and doing, I mean, it's a sort of straightforward proposition, isn't it, Mattie? We have a crisis, deal with it, and fix it.
Lou, you're exactly right, and this is why it's so terrifying that we have Secretary Gates on his way out pleading with Congress to do something about health care costs because they're swallowing the defense budget. He alone said that the defense budget is being 50% of their costs is made up of health care costs, and look at what we're getting for our dollar. It's not quite clear that we're actually able to help our service members when they need us most, and where is this money going? We need to start looking at these costs and looking at the kind of service and kind of health care that we're providing for our troops.
And the idea that our teenagers are and obviously in such pain and reacting as they are. We're in a society filled with drugs, legal and illegal. Right. Addiction is rampant, and jobs are scarce, and the economy is crushing right now for millions of Americans. And we've got a president today who said I can't even imagine what would make a man think that he could say the private sector is doing fine and then go on to call for more government jobs. Help me out here, Dave.
Well, that's part of the problem with politics today. It's that gotcha mentality in politics. You know, sometimes presidents have a bad day. I mean, Ronald Reagan said that trees cause pollution and ketchup was a vegetable. That happens. And today in politics, we're seeing too much of this gotcha stuff and jumping.
You know, he was right, by the way.
What, the trees cause pollution?
Correct.
Well, I mean, some people would argue with that.
Oh, it's politics after all. But to your point, it's not so much gotcha. It's what you're giving us. Yeah. And I mean, this is a leader who has, you know, I don't want to go through a litany of misstatements that he's made or any other president. But the fact is, how can your brain associate 23 million people, unemployed, underemployed, giving up being employed, with the private sector is doing fine, and the biggest urgency is to put government employees into the workforce?
I think what he was saying is that austerity doesn't work. Look what's happening in Greece and in Europe. The austerity measures there are making the economy even worse. Traditionally, in the past, we've had more people in government during good times in the economy. There are local governments that can't help people because they don't have the government employees to process.
There are also governments that have been helping themselves in the public trough and riding on the taxpayers' back for decades in this country. Mattie, I mean, I'm not going to put words in David's mouth, but it sounds like he'd like to see a little higher tax, a few more people on those public payrolls, maybe contributing to a couple of unions. I don't know.
Right, Dave, I'm sorry, I don't know where to start with you. It's not a bad day, it's a bad presidency. It's a bad presidency, and it's because of the policies that Obama has been trying to put in place since he first came into the White House that we're in the position we're in right now. State and local governments aren't shedding jobs the way Obama would like you to believe. They're only shedding workers because he made them hire millions of new workers with his stimulus plan back in 2009. And because the federal funds have now dried up, local governments don't have the funds to continue to have these bloated payrolls. And what's more, we need to learn our lessons from states like Wisconsin where they were bleeding teachers because the teachers unions wouldn't allow school systems to make the cuts they needed to make to stay solvent.
Did you
and
just say
instead had to lay off
hallelujah,
teachers.
Wisconsin? Did you say hallelujah, Wisconsin?
I think she did.
Help me out. Paul, speaking of Wisconsin, Congressman Paul Ryan. One minute you want to cheer for the man, and then you wonder, what in the world is he doing? He now is calling the November election about natural rights versus government rights. What in the world? There are only American rights in this country, and they're rights that our forebears have fought for and our men and women in uniform fight for today. What is with natural rights? What is this? What is that all about?
Look, Paul Ryan's a friend of mine, but this one, he's dead wrong. The only thing that we are in this country is we're Americans. Once you start getting down that line, it's almost as bad as the Democrats saying millionaires and billionaires and class envy. We shouldn't be dividing people by class or by different structure. We should just say people are different education, different structures.
And there's another saying, if you talk long enough, you'll say something stupid to that end. I'm going to try to constrain my remarks for the rest of this hour. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Boom.
Up next, we'll check